Good morning. It's a little bit early. It's like about a minute or two early. But I just wanted to make sure everything was working fine. Happy Saturday. And before everyone gets on, I would like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and all the mother-like figures that are in your community. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks so much for joining. Okay. I'm probably going to get started about 10:05. And those that come in a little bit later can watch the replay. We're going to be talking about creating your self-publishing budget today. And I'm not sure if you received a handout, but I believe that Miss Sylvia Hubbard-Hatula is sent it in the email, or sending it in the email. So to get started, this is what your little workbook is going to look like. It's just a self-publishing pre-test at the top, just to see what your ideas are about self-publishing. And then we have a budget checklist and an area for notes. Hi, Dr. Matthews. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to get started about 10:05, so I'm just giving a little time for people to come in. And I'll be looking at my computer over here and my notes as well as we go through this little workshop class this morning. We're talking about creating your self-publishing budget. Now, one thing about the self-publishing budget, it's not going to be the same for everybody, because everybody has a different type of project. Everybody has a different word count, different editing focuses. Excuse me. So it's going to be different, but some things will stay the same. Some prices for certain things will stay the same. So maybe I'll wait for 2 more minutes, then I'll get started. But we have a worksheet for today's workshop, and I believe that Sylvia was going to upload it or email it to everybody, or she may put it in the chat. Okay. Just looking to see if she sent out the email yet. Does anybody have the workbook? I'm just looking on my phone to see if it's in the group. Okay, it's not there, so I'm not sure how to upload it to the group. Hold on one second. And I've been having a problem with my phone downloading things, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to upload it to the group, but we'll just go ahead and get started. And then I'll put it in the group afterwards. So I just did a quick self-publishing pre-test. The first question, and you can put your comments in the chat. The first question is, What are the four main paths to publishing? What are the four main paths to publishing? So when you want to publish your book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry, whatever the book is, whatever the topic is or the genre, what are the four paths to publishing? So if you know one of the four paths, please put it in the comments. And good morning to everybody. My name is Queashar. I am the CEO of Queashar Detroit Publishing. I'm an international best-selling author, speaker, and I'm excited to be here today. For the last, I believe, 3-4 years, I've always come on to the Motown Writers Group in May. So this is my month, and I'm excited to be here today. Let me see. I'm going to look at my phone and see if there are any comments or anything. But there is a workbook that you're going to get. So let's see. Right, Dr. Matthews, traditional publishing, self-publishing. That's correct. Good morning, Miss Vanessa. Yep, traditional, self-publishing, indie publishing. And there are two other ones that I'm kind of focused on. Good morning, Miss Sylvia. One second, I'll make sure the sound is off on my phone so I can look at that for comments. So, I don't know, Sylvia, were you able to upload the worksheet? Okay, the PDF has been put in the link. Okay, so when everybody has your workbook, please put a 1 in the comments for me. Happy Saturday, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for Second Saturdays at Motown Writers Group. Okay, great. Okay, so the first question on the worksheet is, what are the four main paths to publishing? And some people have named some in the comments. So that's great. That's a great start. Okay. All right. Okay. The second question is, on average, how much does it cost to self-publish in 2024? Off the top of your head, on average, how much does it cost to publish in 2024? I'm looking at my computer over here because I have notes on the computer. Let's see here. On average, how much does it cost to publish in 2024? Okay. Sylvia says between $2,000 and $5,000. Very good guess. Between $2,000 and $5,000. Yeah, but it ranges because everybody has a different project, so the price is going to range. So even if we do a quote for a self-publishing project, it's going to change. Yes, especially if you get a very good experienced editor, because the more people have experience and credentials, the more they're going to charge for editing. Okay, the third question is, who is the best person to professionally edit your book? Is it A, your cousin who is an English substitute teacher? B, a beta reader? C, yourself? D, a professional editor? Who is the best person to professionally edit your book? And then number 4, who owns the printing and distribution rights to a book? Who owns the printing and the distribution rights to your book? Okay, as an author, who owns it? Is it A, your printer, whoever prints your book? Is it B, the original author? Is it C, the publishing company, if you go to a publishing company? Or D, whoever owns the ISBN and copyright? Who owns the printing and distribution rights? Hello, Miss Tanisha. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so let's go over. Now kind of went over the answers for the first question. Is what are the 4 main paths to publishing? Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit before we get into like the budget. D on number 4 is whoever owns the ISBN and copyright. That's what D is on number 4. Good morning, Miss Parks. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so let's go over now. The workbook is in the link in the comments. So grab your workbook and we're going to go over the answers to the pretest. So the first question is, what are the 4 main paths to publishing? And sometimes these words are interchangeable, how some people may say indie publishing, maybe self-publishing. It just depends, okay? Or indie publishing could be, you could be working with a consultant. So some of these terms are kind of interchangeable. But let's go over the answer. Now, self-publishing. Now, self-publishing is a publication of any book or other media by its author without the involvement of established publisher. So when you self-publish, that's you as an author, you're publishing your book. This is not saying that you can't get help with an editor or you can't get help with consulting or things like that. But self-publishing is when you as the author publishes your book, okay? The second path is traditional publishing, okay? Now, traditional publishing, the publishing house buys the rights to your book and to your author's manuscript. A part of the arrangement includes payment of an advance by the book publisher to the author to secure your book deal, and you get royalties. Now, the only way you can get to that traditional publisher is through a literary agent. You just don't go to a top publishing house and hand them your manuscript. You have to find a literary agent to represent you, and that literary agent will shop out those particular publishing houses based upon what you're writing about, your skill set. So they'll do it on your behalf. It's like an insurance broker. So my background is in insurance, right? It's like you go to an insurance agent and that insurance agent will fish out and will search out for the particular plan that's going to meet your needs. Okay. So the first one, we have self-publishing. The second is traditional publishing. Now, traditional publishing is the one that most people, when they think they're writing a book, they think they're going to get a traditional publisher. But typically you must have a large following. You must be someone who has your own following, someone that you know, the publishing house knows that they're going to make their money back with you. They don't just give anybody a traditional publishing package. You have to be someone with your own following, someone that is credible, someone that's been in the business a long time, because they want to make sure they're going to make their money. The third type of path to publishing is hybrid publishing. So hybrid publishing is more like partner publishing. A lot of times, I've been seeing this online, people get this interchangeable. Hybrid publishing and vanity publishing, they're not the same thing. Hybrid publishing, they're very selective. They vet their authors. Okay, so hybrid publishing is partner publishing. Now, hybrid publishing is very selective. The publisher will only accept an author if they're a good fit based upon the publisher's mission and vision. Okay, the hybrid publishing house is a cross between self-publishing and traditional. So it's a cross, it's a combination. Books are published based upon the industry book standards and approved by the Independent Book Publishers Association. Now, the Independent Book Publishers Association has 9 criteria for what makes a hybrid publisher. I had those notes. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find those. Let me just hold on one second for me. Okay, so I'm going to give you the 9 guidelines for a legitimate hybrid publishing company, okay? And you can find all this at the IPBA, the Independent Book Publishers Association, okay? Now, the first one is that, again, you must have define your mission and vision for your publishing company. This is for a hybrid publishing company. 2, they vet mission. So you just can't contact a hybrid publisher and say, I want you to publish this book for me. The hybrid publisher is going to more than likely have an interview with you to see if you're a good fit based upon what their goals are, okay? you publish under your own imprint and ISBNs. Okay. Now there are some cases, because you can, there are some cases in which you may be a hybrid publisher, but you may use an ISBN under the author's name. Depends on what the preference is of the author. Okay. Number 4, you publish to industry standards. And the last time we were here, there was I'm trying to find, there was a flyer that I told you can get at the Independent Book Publishers Association. It talks about the industry standards of a published book. Okay. So we'll put that in the comments later on, but I think March, we talked about that. It's a flyer that you can get. Talks about all the industry standards. Now, number 5, ensure editorial design and production quality. So a hybrid publisher is going to make sure that everything is quality. They're not going to just give you any type of book cover. They're going to make sure your book is professionally edited and make sure that you have some great distribution opportunities for your book. And they pursue and manage a range of publishing rights. That's number 6. So you may have digital format, an ebook. You may have a paperback book. You might have an audio book. It just depends on what you talk about with that publisher. Okay. And number 7, they provide distribution services. Number 8, they demonstrate respectable sales. And number 9, pay authors a higher than a standard royalty. Now, the kind of publishing company that I have, it's kind of close. It is mostly hybrid, but the only thing is I don't take any royalties. You pay whatever the cost is for the package you purchase, but I don't take any of your royalties. So you can kind of, if you have your own publishing company, you can create the kind of publishing company that you want, and you can, kind of tailor it to, whatever your goals and missions are. Okay. So those, again, are 9 standards for a legitimate hybrid publishing company. I'm going to go through it really quickly. You have a defined mission and vision statement for your company. You vet missions. You publish under your own imprint and ISBNs. And we'll talk about this in just a second, but the only place that you should be getting your ISBN number is from Bowker, BOWKER.com. Okay. You publish to industry standards. That's number 4. Number 5, you ensure editorial design, production, and quality. Number 6, you pursue and manage a range of publishing rights. So basically, you make sure that the book is available in an ebook format, paperback, hardcover, however you decide. And then number 7, and I'll look at the chat in just a second. You provide distribution services, so it's available in other places than just Amazon. Okay, you're going to get a wider distribution opportunity for your book if you work with a hybrid publisher. You demonstrate respectable sales. You should have a record of producing several books that sell in respectable quantities for your book niche. And number 9, you pay authors higher than standard royalty. And some hybrid publishing companies pay a royalty. Some of them don't. Like, again, my model is more like hybrid, but I don't get any royalties from my clients. So, okay. The last one. So we talked about what self-publishing is. We talked about traditional publishing. We talked about hybrid publishing. And the last one is vanity publishing. A vanity publisher is a publishing house in which authors pay to have their books published. Vanity publishers have no selection criteria as opposed to other hybrid publishing models. Now, like I said, sometimes people get that hybrid publishing and vanity publishing confused, but vanity publishers take advantage of you. Okay, I think Exebris is one of them. It may be Author House. I'm trying to think of some of if you can think of a vanity publishing house, put it in the chat. But these publishing houses take advantage of you. They take a high royalty. Sometimes you may not get any royalty at all. You have to read that contract. And sometimes they take advantage of you because a lot of people, when they want to become an author, they're so anxious to become an author and say that they're a published author that they take any type of contract. Typically, those publishing packages are very high. Sometimes it can be $10,000, $20,000, $40,000. I'm just talking about this publishing package. They're not giving you any educational matter, anything like that, but you're just publishing your book through them, and it's a very expensive process. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the chat notes, see if anybody has any questions thus far. So we're just going through the pre-test here, and the last one, oh, I'm sorry, second one. So we talked about the first one, the 4 paths to publishing. The second one, on average, how much does it cost to publish in 2014? And Sylvia said between $2,000 and $5,000, which is a very good guess. Okay. Now, I recently was doing some research, and I found online, now there's a website called Reedsy, REEDSY.com. They did a survey recently with maybe thousands of publishing houses to give you an estimate on what it costs to publish. Okay, and I'm going to give you what their research came out to be. Hold on one second, I have it here. And Sylvia is very close to the answer that was on, according to Reedsy.com data, it costs independent authors between $2,820 and $5,360 to publish a book in 2014. But there's a big price range because, again, everybody has different project needs. Everybody will have a different word count, so that means that your editing is going to be different. Everybody's going to use a different graphic artist for their book covers. So all of these things are going to range, okay? It's going to be a big range in the costs. Yes, Sylvia said Reedsy.com is a really good resource. It is an excellent resource. Check out Reedsy.com. They have like a weekly, they have so many different courses they do. They send you the course material to your email, self-publishing versus traditional publishing. And it's a very, very good resource, especially for those that are just publishing your books. Check it out on Reedsy.com. Later on, I'm going to put in the chat the website, because it gives you an estimate on how much your editing should cost based upon your word count. And let's see, I took some notes yesterday. Where's the, I'm sorry, I got so many notes and things around here. But basically they were saying for a 80,000 word count book, the cost for editing was anywhere between $19,000 and $4,440. So if you divide that by 4, because I've seen most people that send to me their manuscripts, they're under 20,000 words. And so let's see here. Let me just double check something here. So I just did an average. So 1,900 divided by 4, because 80 divided by 4 is 20,000. If somebody had a 20,000 word count, their editing budget should range between $475 and, hold on one second, 4440 and $1,110. So anywhere between $475 and $1,110 is an average of a 20,000 word book will be like the average cost. Because again, the cost for editing will range depending on who you're talking to, how much experience they have, what they charge. Now, I do want to mention this. There are different types of editing. There's content editing, and there's developmental editing, and then there's proofreading. Okay, so let me hold on one second. I just have a deeper explanation for developmental editing, and then if we have editors, if you want to put in the chat, Miss Chiron, or if somebody want to put it in chat, but a content editing, basically, they're like line editing. They look for word choice, awkward and clunky language, transitions, overflow and pacing. They fix run-on sentences. They look for, grammar, things like that. Now, developmental editing is a deeper editing. They look for on the manuscript level. They address structure of the book and messaging. They look for content editing as well, paragraph, chapter flow, make sure that everything matches up there, improve the logical flow and ideas and topics as you present them in your manuscript. They look for consistency and tone. They also proofread, and they analyze, grammar, spelling, grammatical, punctuation, and diction, things like that. Okay. So that was a self-publishing pretest. Okay. And then we talked about defining what traditional publishing is, self-publishing, vanity press, and hybrid. Okay, I'm going to check the comments here and see if anybody. Okay, so Sylvia says, usually if your manuscript is above 30,000, ask the editor in advance and can start a payment plan. Yes, there are payment plans available. And you can ask for you can talk to the editor in advance, let them know how many words you have, and they will give you an estimate of what that cost will be for your editing. Because the editing is the most expensive part of your budget, okay? Let's see. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go into the budget, okay? Because time is flying by. It's 10:25. Okay, now, on that chart, now, the person that created this chart for me, they didn't follow my instructions. I had it divided up in different categories. Like, I have a Excel spreadsheet for mine. I had legal. Okay, so these are the categories that I have for the budget. Now, this budget is going to vary again, depending on your project, depending on if you've already been a published author. Some of these things you may already have in place. But these are the categories that I have. Okay, I have legal. Okay, and I'll go into detail with that. I have graphic designer. I have editing. And we talk about developmental content and proofreading. And I have book formatting. I have ISBN and barcode. Your copyright, which should be under legal. Your copyright, cost of books, consultation fees. If you talk to if you don't work with a publisher directly, but if you do, go to them for consultation or coaching, put that, think about that in your budget. You need a professional headshot for your back cover, and then for your marketing materials. So when you're going to go speak at different events, you need to have a professional headshot, marketing, PR, social media, ads, and other products that you may get, custom signage, a banner, a pull-up banner if you go to events where you speak and then you have a table in the back of the room, tablecloth, runners, a website. So those are some things that you want to consider, okay? And we'll go into, hi Mandy Joe, thanks for joining us. We'll go into the details on what kind of prices to look for in those different categories. Fundraising for publishing expenses from platforms, Kickstarter. Yes, you can fundraise as well. Yeah, now, fundraising, that is something that you can do to pay for your, book project. But we're talking about budget-wise, the things that you need to think of and consider. And these things will help you with your Kickstarter campaign because it'll help you to know how much you should raise. So on average, between $2,800 and $5,000 is the budget cost that you should have set aside for your book project. And then the thing about it is you're not going to be paying all this all at once. They're going to be payment plans that you can set up. And there's some things you take care of as you go along the process. So you want to plan out, when you're writing a book, you want to plan out at least 6 months to a year. When you know you're going to start writing your book, start saving, putting money aside at least 6 months to a year from when you want to actually publish your book. Now, we're talking about a quality book, okay? A book with high standards, something that you are proud of, okay? So let's go into some of the costs for some of these things. So legal. Now, if you're self-publishing, you need to have a self-publishing company. You need to go and get an LLC or talk to an attorney on how you should set it up. But I set mine up as an LLC. And if you go to the state of Michigan, it's only $50, okay? So when I, just the legal, start up, the legal paperwork, LLC for your business, that's $50. You can go to the state of Michigan website if you're from Michigan. And you can do that for $50. Or you can have an attorney do it. If you have an attorney do it, I've seen as low as $1.99, and they'll do it for you. Make sure your articles of incorporation are set for you. But it's easy to do it. It's $50. Okay. Contract creation that I have on here. Work for hire agreement. A work for hire agreement is necessary if you're a self-published author, because when a graphic artist creates your book cover, the graphic artist actually owns that book cover, because if you don't have a work for hire agreement, they own it. Okay, and you want to, we can argue back and forth or whatever, but I'm not going to do that. But contact an intellectual property attorney. They will tell you that you need a work for hire agreement to protect yourself. Because say, for instance, you write a book and somebody creates your book cover. You have no kind of contract in place with them. You blow up, right? They can come knocking on your door and say, you know what, that's my book cover. And they can get money from you because you did not legally protect your intellectual property. So make sure you get a work for hire agreement. There are a couple of attorneys that have these already preset work for hire agreements. I caught a few of them for $100. So there's attorney Trademark My Stuff, attorney Kiona. What is Kiona's last name? Hold on one second. I'm gonna look. I wrote down a few attorneys that you can contact them and see if you can get a work for hire agreement. Attorney Kiona McGee, Trademark My Stuff, attorney RJ Pierce, attorney Nakia Gray. Those are some attorneys that have work for hire agreements. You can contact them and see how much it is. You can buy it one time, right? And you can use this for all of your projects. Make sure that you're legally protecting your intellectual property. If you come up with these book covers, these are your ideas, but you're having someone create it on your behalf, make sure they sign a copyright notice off to you that you're the owner of your intellectual property, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if you use websites like Fiverr, they have it in their wording, but if you have to go to court, you're not going to you could print off the agreement, from Fiverr, but you want to make sure that you get your specific graphic artist to sign one. So if I use Fiverr, I have them sign a work for hire agreement. So I'm not trying to chase them down if something happens later on. For every project that I do, I make sure they sign a work for hire agreement. Okay. And again, they have different sales throughout the year. Sometimes they have them for $40, $100, but contact an intellectual property attorney, and you'll have that in your file for future projects. And if there are any attorney fees, keep that in mind as well. Okay, so $50 for setup. I put $100 for a work for hire agreement. And again, you're not going to keep buying a work for hire agreement. You just get it one time. Sometimes you may need to tweak it. But okay, so that's $50 for the company setup. $100 for your contract creation. Now let's talk about book covers. Now, book covers, just like editing, can range as well. Because depending on the book cover designer, how long they've been doing this, they can charge anywhere from, I've seen book covers anywhere from $25 all the way up to $800, $1,000. It just depends. Okay. So, but you want to, keep in mind, I would say anywhere between $300 to $400 is good. If anything, you'll have more money and you can use that for another thing in your budget. But you can get a decent book cover for $100, $200. Okay. And then again, but depends on who you go to. It could be $250, $300. So keep that in mind. I would say anywhere between $300, $400 is a good amount to set up in your budget for your book cover, but it may be less than that. So just keep that in mind. They also do your mock-ups for your website, just like the 3D covers that you can put when you're promoting your book on your website or your social media pages. So graphic artists also do that as well. So keep that in mind. That's usually included in that price range. Okay. Then the next thing, editing. Okay. Again, we talked about there's content or copy editing. There's developmental editing and proofreading. So sometimes editors charge by the page. And it can range anywhere from $4 to $9 per page. The last project that I did on my last book, Skyrocket Your Success, the copy editing on that was, I think, $4 a page for just copy editing. $4 a page. Now, developmental editing. Now, depending on what your goal is with your book, if you're trying to take this book and make millions of dollars, I would advise you to invest in a developmental editor. Okay, you're gonna pay more on the front end, but Going to be thankful and grateful that you want that second step further and receive that extra editing, okay? But developmental editing can be expensive. One of the editors that I use, he charges 4 cents a word, okay? So if you have, just as an average, if like you had a book 14,000 words, right? 14,000 words. Hold on one second. I did a quick estimate. Oh, let's do it. Let's make the math easy. 10,000 words, $4. 4 cents per word. That's $400. If you have 20,000 words, 4 cents per word, $800. And that's the cost typically for like a developmental editor. That can be a price, but again, it depends on the person. So all this stuff is up and down depending on who you use. But this is a good price, I would say. A good price range, because it'd be a little bit less, a little bit more. But for 4 cents a word, 10,000 words is $400 for developmental editing. 20,000 words, $800. So keep that in mind, okay? The next thing, book formatting. Now, book formatting can range too. If you use someone from like Fiverr or another service provider, I've seen book formatting anywhere from $50 to $350. Just depends on who you use. Again, a lot of this stuff depends on who you use and what their cost is, what their experience is. The more people have been doing this for years and years, the cost is going to be a little bit more expensive. ISBN and barcode. I always say the best place to get your ISBN is on what? Bowker, BOWKER.com. It's $125 per edition. So like if you're getting a ebook, paperback, it's $125 per. But if you're self-publishing, I would say go ahead. You can get a bulk of 10 for $295. And when you get a bulk of 10, you'll be able to use this for this project and future projects. So just go ahead and get it, and you'll have it for years, you know, depending on how fast you publish your books. But go ahead and get it. But for your paperback book, you have to have a barcode. I'm just getting a book here to show you. The barcode right here on the back, that's $25 on Bowker.com. Okay, so you're going to get an ISBN and barcode. If you're just publishing your, if you're just doing a paperback, it's $125 for that edition, and then $25 for the barcode. So that's $150. Okay. Copyright. Now, on copyright.gov, there is a standard copyright. Usually, if you have someone else that's helping you with your book, someone else is collaborating, you got a book cover, you didn't create it, if you're collaborating with anybody, if everything is not 100% yours, you get the standard one. Okay, it's $65 on copyright.gov. The next thing is the cost of books. So the cost of your books could range anywhere between $2.50 per book to $3. Okay, it could be one something, depends on how large your book is. So keep that in mind. So if your book is $2.50 and you get 100 books, $250. $2.50 and you get 100 books, $250. Make sure you include that in your budget. Okay. Consultation fees, coaching fees, depends on who you use, right? It could be, you could get a session with them. It could be $197, could be $300, could be $500. It just depends on who you use. Professional headshot. Again, depends on who you use. I would say you want to keep amount of, you want to budget $250 for a headshot. Or if you want to do a photo shoot, then it could be more. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to look at these comments here and see if somebody has... Okay, so Vanessa says she bought the book some time ago, so I have several barcodes for future use. See, yeah, it makes sense to do that. What if we get free content from platforms like Canva? All we need is to give credit in the finished work, correct? Free content. You're asking about copyright for your book? I don't know. Free content from platforms like Canva. If you are the original author, you want to protect. Now, when we talk about copyright, copyright is protecting your intellectual property, your manuscript. If you wrote a book, this is coming from your intellectual property. If you wrote a book, these are your words. You want to protect your words. Now, when you write your words to put it in a tangible form, it automatically has copyright. But if you want to be able to sue someone, you want to go to copyright.gov and make yourself the author of record. So if you see somebody stole your book, you don't have any legs to stand on if you don't get it legally registered at copyright.gov. But if you're using content that's in a free domain, I'm talking about if you're actually physically writing a book from your own intellectual property, your own experiences, and you're an expert in your niche, and you want to use this book to go speak on stages and get paid millions of dollars. That's what I'm talking about. Excuse me. But copywriting is very important, okay? And then you want to make sure that everything is protected, because you don't want to work all these years, write a book, become a bestseller, and someone's stealing your work and you don't have any legs to stand on. You can't sue them because you haven't legally registered. $65. I mean, a lot of people spend money on so many different things, but I'm saying if you're just doing writing a book out of hobby, you don't have to worry about nothing I'm saying. But if you're using this as an established expert and you want to use this information, which is your intellectual property, and you want to make millions of dollars, you need to copyright your book. That's $65. Or is it $55? If there's a standard, I always do the standard one on $65. There's one less than that, like $55 or something like that. But I was told when I called copyright.gov that I need to get to standard. If I have like an editor, or if the book cover, I didn't do it myself. If anyone else is collaborating on your book project, you need to get the standard. This is what they told me on copyright.gov. I've called them several times. Let me look and see if there are any other comments here. Plus shipping and taxes on printed books. Yes, shipping and taxes on printed books is very expensive. Yes, excellent, Dr. Matthews. Yes, you want to include that in your budget. Now, if you're mailing out book by book, like media mail, you want to do MEDIA mail. Usually they do it based upon the weight. I was told the other day, if it's over 16 pounds, then that's the next level where they'll charge you. But usually it's like $3 to $4 for media mail if you're mailing one book. Cover art. Oh, cover art. You want to be very careful with that cover art, Sandy, because sometimes, now, if it says free, like there's a couple of websites you can get free cover art. I would say be very leery of that. But because there are some that are free, that's different. But you want to make sure you know where the copyright is of anything that you use, that you're publishing and get money on. Make sure that you have the rights to it. I just want to say that. Make sure you have the rights to it, because that can be kind of tricky. But I understand what you're saying. There are some things on Canva that says free, that you can use it. Yeah, but I'm very leery of it. Shar, both of our questions were pertaining to graphic work on the book cover. Okay. You know what? I would say be very careful with that. Make sure that when you because sometimes I know on Canva, they do have free options and paid options. On Canva, you can also pay, because I did purchase something on Canva before that I use for commercial purposes. It allowed me to purchase it. So just depend. But some of them does say free, but I'm still leery of it because there have been so many different cases and stuff like that. But if it's free, then they say it's free. But if somebody were to sue you, you got to make sure that you document, that graphic art is free. If anybody or any attorneys or somebody has something to state regarding graphics that you use from like Canva and things like that, if it says it's free, it's free. But just make sure that you find that, where it's actually written that it's really free. Okay, just be very careful with that. I have copyright protection on the words. I have found a free picture on Canva I'd like to use for cover art. Okay, very careful with that cover art from free. Yeah, just be very, very careful. Another thing too, you want to do like there's a legal shield. You can get a membership for Legal Shield for under like $30 a month, and you can call, because there's a personal one, then there's one for business. you may want to get the one for business, because you can call an attorney and ask them all these different questions. But I'm just saying, just be very leery sometimes, because there have been so many people getting caught up, and years later, somebody will sue them for something that they, put on a book or something like that. But just be very careful. That's what I'll just say. Be very careful. Yeah, commercial use. Yes, Dr. Matthews, check for commercial use. Some are free to use unless it is for commercial purposes. Right. Make sure that when you are getting the free ones, make sure that you read the wording, because sometimes it's just free if you're just using it to give some free information. But if you're using it and you're selling it on your book and you're making money from that, make sure that you read that, what it says for commercial use only. So yes, thank you, Dr. Matthews. That's what I was trying to say. Read the terms and conditions. Right, Sylvia, the terms and conditions. Be very careful with that. Okay. Okay, I hope I'm answering the questions, but some things, I'm just saying, you got to be very leery with some things. You got to make sure you read everything, because you don't want to get caught up and start making millions, and all of a sudden somebody's knocking on your door with a cease and desist, and they're trying to sue you for something that you used because you wasn't really sure. So make sure when you see something free, make sure you read the terms and conditions and print it, okay, and put it in a file. Okay. Again, you know what? Okay, for Fiverr. Now, Fiverr, they do have terms and conditions that says, read the terms and conditions with Fiverr, but just for your peace of mind. So if something happens, a work for hire agreement is not hard to get. Again, contact an attorney. I don't want to get into this because I'm not an attorney or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, I've studied this so much in the last few years. Intellectual property attorney that says to make sure that you get a work for hire and transfer the copyright to you as the ownership, okay? On Fiverr, they do have wording where it says that you are the owner, but I'm just saying, if something happens later on, say somebody leaves Fiverr and all of a sudden they want to sue you, I'm just saying, be very leery, okay? I'm not trying to cause any confusion like that, but I'm saying be very leery. Protect yourself. I want to say, you work so hard. Protect your intellectual property is all I'm saying, okay? Protect your intellectual property. And if you are, planning to become a millionaire from your book sales and stuff like that, make sure you protect what's yours, okay? That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm just looking at the questions here. Okay, so we were talking about marketing, PR, and social media ads and products and stuff like that. So make sure you have something in your budget. If you want to, they have like a lot of different programs. If you want to be featured on ABC, NBC, sometimes you have, well, not sometimes, a lot of times you have to pay a PR. So if you want a PR representative to represent you, that can be $5,000. But sometimes they have specials where they can feature you as an author. And sometimes magazines will feature you without any cost to you. Just be, make sure you have something set up in your budget for that. Thank you, Sylvia. You said you are not causing any confusion. You are telling them the truth. Reading is fundamental, for real, because a lot of people are getting caught up. A lot of people are getting caught up because you're not paying attention. You just see something, oh, I want this for my book cover, and you just going ahead putting it on your book cover, and you don't own it. You don't have you don't have the right to commercially use that in your book project. So I just been, like, the last few years, I'm telling you, I've been soaking in so much information. I've been listening to so many attorneys. And the book, Do It Right the First Time, let me just tell you this. Attorney Nakia Gray, she talks about it in this book, Do It Right the First Time. Oops, I got all these books stacked up. I hope it doesn't fall. Hold on one second. If you want to get one of these books, let me know. But this one, where Nakia Gray talks about it, let me find out which book she's in. But she breaks it down. So if you're interested in the book, I'm trying to see which one it is. Is it Write Your Bestseller? I'm going to put the book that she's in. It's like a 3-book series I was in like a couple of years ago. Do It Right the First Time. Publish and Market Your Bestseller. Write Your Bestseller. And Conversations with Marketing Experts. It might be in this book here. Let me see. But this stuff is important. If you want one of these books, reach out to me because she breaks it down in here. I'm trying to see. Yep. Intellectual Property for Authors on page 11. She's in the 2nd chapter. Nakia Gray Esquire. Yes. So Conversations with Marketing Experts. $15. It's worth it. If you want to get this book, send me a message, DM me, get it. Okay, it's gonna help you. The last time I was on here, I told you about this. I mean, I would tell you, get this book because it's gonna help you. Okay, it talks about intellectual property for authors. Let me just go to this chapter real quick. It's on page 11, and I'm just telling you this stuff because I see so much going on in this industry. I just want to make sure that you are aware and you're not shocked. And the thing about it is, I didn't know. It's not a good excuse. Okay, that's what they will tell you when they take you to court. Okay, so she interviewed her intellectual property for authors, entity formation, contracts, and copyrights. Exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So do it right the first time, conversations with marketing experts. It was compiled by Valerie J. Lewis Coleman. I wrote a chapter in Publish and Market Your Bestseller. I'm in this book. But this book here, if you want it, let me know because I have it. Also speak about approaching libraries and indie bookstores because a lot of indie authors don't put that information in their promotion. Yes, you can contact, not all of my comments are coming up on the screen here. You can contact libraries and indie bookstores to see if they can put your book in their store. And if you publish on like Ingram Sparks and you have wider distribution, someone can actually go into the store and request that your book be put in their bookstore. But that's something that you might want to take a look at as well. Do it right the first time. Conversations with marketing experts. Sylvia, thanks for putting that in there. Okay, Vanessa. Okay, I'll get in touch with you so you can get this book. Okay, and I can ship it out to you hopefully today. Okay. Hi, Elder K. Thanks so much for joining us. We're talking about creating a self-publishing budget. So let's go over, let me see. It's 10:50. So if anybody has questions, you can put it in the chat. And then as always, if you have questions, I'll go back later and answer any questions that you leave for me in the chat that I didn't answer. But I try to answer everything that I see that comes up. Okay, so let me look at this budget list again. Now this that you have, it's just a checklist. This is not the actual. The one that I had, again, it had different kinds. It had legal, it had editing, but the person that I did, well, you know what? It was kind of last minute, so maybe but still, if you put in an order for someone to do something for you, they should do it right. Because just to kind of put your eye to certain things, there are legal aspects with your budget. There's editing, book formatting, ISBN. So yeah, marketing, PR ads, custom signage. Now, Vistaprint is a good place to get banners, pull up banners. They have a sale right now. I think it's 40% off or 50% off. I think it was like $102.50 for a pull up banner or a tablecloth. So Vistaprint is a good place to get these custom banners and tablecloths as well. Okay. So I'm not going to go through and add this up because, again, this is going to depend on what your project is. So, again, but they usually range between $2,800 and $5,000. It could be a little bit less, too, again, depending on the service providers that you use. Okay? So I'm going to run through these estimates again. So, like legal, if you are self-publishing, you want to make sure that you set up an LLC or however you want your entity to be. But this book will explain that about the different entities or whatever. But a lot of people do have LLCs for like a book business, but it depends on your goals and things like that. You want to talk to an intellectual property attorney or read this book, Dr. Nakia Gray Esquire, Chapter 2 in Conversations with Marketing Experts, contract creation, work for hire agreement. Sometimes they have them on sale, $100, $97. Sometimes it's more than that, so keep that in mind. Graphic designer, your book cover can be anywhere from $50 to $800. It just depends on who you use. And so it's such a wide range because it depends on what service providers that you use. But what I want to tell you to do as a published author, look at your friends' books, look at authors that you admire, read in their book cover jackets. A lot of times, dedications, they give shout outs, they list who their graphic artists are. There are a lot of different hints that people give you. Look at the authors that you love, the books that you love. A lot of those are on the copyright page. Okay, a lot who they use. Okay, It's on a copyright page. Book cover design, formatting, publisher, all that stuff is on the copyright page. Thank you, Dr. Matthews. I appreciate you. Okay, yeah, get on my email list. I got some good things going on in the near future. I got an anthology that I'm going to do my first anthology. I participated in so many anthologies. I'm going to do my first anthology. I think I'm going to kick it off next month. It's about entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to get in, it's going to be a price that you can't refuse. I'm going to do my first anthology, and it's going to kick off next month because I believe it's Entrepreneur's Month or something like that, some kind of theme next month. So if you want to be a part, let me know. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, again, if you have questions, I don't see your questions, make sure that you put them in the chat. I'll come back and answer them later. But that's it. I hope this was informative. It's so much information. You know, like as I prepare for this, I have so much information that I want to make sure I cover so much because I don't want to leave stuff out. Because like when you become an author, there's so much that comes up. There's so many gray areas. So when I come on and I talk, I try to, you know, fill in those gray areas that you have, the gray areas that I had when I published my first book. So I thank you all for joining me. Again, if you have questions, make sure you put them in the chat. I'll come back and answer them by the end of the day. But Vanessa, I'll contact you about this book. Anybody else? I'm just looking here to see if there are any questions. You're welcome, Sandy. Thanks everybody for joining me. Okay, so Sylvia, if you're listening on the replay, let us know and put the questions in the chat, and Shar will come back. Yes, I will come back and answer your questions. You're welcome, Vanessa. I always love coming to Motown Writers Network. Sylvia has been a blessing. I've learned so much from her over the years, and I, you know, appreciate, you know, all the information that she pours into us yearly. She's been doing this for what, 24 years, I believe. I appreciate her taking the time to create a forum for us, you know, because there's so many gaps. And a lot of times, you know, this is a good resource. And if you go to a coach outside of this, you got to pay. I mean, because they've taken, you know, this is the thing when you consider providers and they say their price is too high. Maybe they're not the provider for you. But if someone's taking time to educate themselves and set themselves as a credible professional, the more they learn, they want to share with you. They want to provide to you the best level of service. So they're going to keep educating themselves. The more they educate themselves, the more they may charge because of their expertise, that level of expertise. So, you know, a lot of times when you say, oh, that person is charging too much. No, they're not charging too much. They're charging what they feel like their service is valued at. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Sylvia. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. Again, if you are looking for a coach to help you publish your book, now you can contact me as a coach. You can also contact me as a publisher. Okay, now the publishing, my publishing costs will range anywhere on a low range, 20 high twos and up. Okay, depending on what you need. I really, and I've been told by my coaches that I should be charging much more than I charge because I provide so much education in the process of publishing your book. But probably next year I'm going to do a big increase. But if you want to get in, right now I'm focusing on nonfiction. And this is the thing. I only focus on nonfiction books because that's what I publish, right? I do have a fiction book that I'll be publishing soon. Once I publish a book for fiction or something like that, different genre, I'll have more idea. I don't want to publish something that I haven't written myself. I want to make sure that I know all the ins and outs. So that's why I only do nonfiction, because that's where I specialize in right now. But in the future, I will be changing different genres. I'm not changing. I will be adding to the genres. But right now, I do nonfiction because that's where my expertise lies. Okay, well, It is 10:58. I'm gonna look and see if there are any questions here. And you're welcome. But I'll be, yeah, anybody that made a comment, I will definitely come back on and give you a shout out and answer any questions. Okay. Well, thanks again, Sylvia, for having me. And I hope all the mothers have a great Mother's Day on tomorrow. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gone and done for the day. All right. Have a great Saturday. Bye-bye.